Hi, it's Dr. Christian, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to raise your standards. What that means is how to improve the quality of your life, how to do more, how to achieve or accomplish more. But why standards? Why do I need to raise my standards to be able to do more? And why teach about that? Well, there's two reasons. The first reason is because I have a bit of a personal mission with learning how to raise standards. And that's because in my journey of personal development, I keep hearing the first thing you need to do if you want to do more is you have to raise your ambition. You know, I hear it from Tony Robbins all the time. He always says the first thing is you got to raise your ambition. I go to Brendon Burchard's seminar on high performance. He says if you want to accomplish more, you need to raise your ambition. It's like, oh, great. Well, how do I do that? Right? I mean, I can want more, but that's not really necessarily ambition. You know, ambition is like having the drive behind it to get it. So it's like, okay, well, how do I raise my ambition? Now, finally, I hear Tony Robbins. He says, if you want to raise your ambition, what you need to do is you need to raise your standards. It's like, oh, wow, oh my God, that's it. Okay. Well, how do I do that? And then I don't find that. I don't find anywhere. How do you raise your standards? And then finally, November 2021, I go to Tony's first in-person seminar since COVID. There was, I think, 7,000 or 9,000 people there. It was insane, to say the least. It was a party. And in that seminar, he said again, if you want to do more in life, you need to raise your ambition. And to raise your ambition, you need to raise your standards. And to raise your standards, and I'm like, oh my God, this is it. He's going to finally tell me. And I'm going to tell you. But really, I want to tell you that there are 3 ways that you can raise your standards. And the first way, it's the most painful way. It's the longest way, but it's the way that requires the least amount of effort for you. The second way is like the middle path. So it's right in the middle with how long it takes to raise your standards and the effort put forth. And the third way, which is the way that Tony says, is the quickest way, but it's the most uncomfortable way. It's fairly easy in its approach, but it's the most uncomfortable way. And the reason why it's so important to raise your standards in life is because everything that you have in life, it's a reflection of your standards. You know, look at the quality of your health. That's a reflection of your standards around health. Your relationship, it's a reflection of your standards around your relationships, or standards around what you expect to receive, or the love that you expect to get. Look at your income. That's a reflection of your financial standards. Everything that you have, it's a reflection of your standards. The respect that you give people, how you treat yourself, what you say to yourself, the kindness that you give to others. Everything from the cleanliness of your bedroom or your car to your personal hygiene. It's all a reflection of your standards. And so if you want to make a change in areas of your life or one specific area, you need to raise your standards around that area of your life. So here we go. This is the 3 ways that you can raise the standards in your life. Now the first way, as I said, it's the most painful, it takes the longest, it may actually never happen, but it's the easiest. You don't have to do anything. And what it is do nothing. That's why it's the easiest. You don't do anything. But let me explain why it's still a way and how it can raise your standards. And I don't recommend this way, and there's most likely you have experienced this in your life. So the situation you have now is that you have the life that you have now, and then you also have life that you want to have. Or maybe it's even just one area or one aspect of your life that you'd like to be better. And so there's a gap there, right? And what that is there's a gap between who you are, or there's a gap between the actions that you take and where you want to be. And to close that gap, okay, this is pretty obvious, but yeah, you got to take the action to get there. But while that gap still exists, while you haven't taken those actions, there's a dissatisfaction with life. Even if it's small, even if it's just one area, even if it's subconscious, there's still a dissatisfaction in life because there's that gap between how life is and how you want it to be or how you feel it should be. And what happens is if you do nothing, you continue to feel that dissatisfaction. And if you have opportunities to change, opportunities to get there, which we do, because every day, you have new opportunity to change, to do something different, right? Every day brings opportunity to take action in a different way. So if you're not taking those opportunities, you continue to experience that dissatisfaction. You continue to feel it. And it may even be subconscious. You're not noticing it, but it's subconsciously there. And what can happen is you get to a point where there's so much deep dissatisfaction that you hit a threshold. Now what this means is you go below your standards. Because right now, you are where you are because right now you're at a reflection of your standards. You're even with your standards. But if you dip below that, it becomes too painful, and then you have to act. You do something to get your life back to that standard. All right? So like for weight, for example, maybe these people are okay with an extra 20 pounds, but they're not okay with 25, 30 pounds. They dip below, and then they got to do something about it. They exercise, they restrict, but maybe their standards aren't as high as saying 10 pounds over. So they're comfortable with 20 pounds. They restrict a little bit, get back to that comfort zone, and then they stay there. So what happens when you dip below and you experience that pain, you act. Now what can happen is that you can experience such dissatisfaction with something over and over, or you can experience it with such intensity that you say, never again am I ever going to feel this way. I never want to feel this pain. I don't ever want to have to relive this experience ever again. And you make a massive change in your standards. You make a massive change in what you expect and what you want from life, and a change in the emotions that are going to drive your action to achieve that. So that's the first way. And that may never happen. Many of us, we live our whole lives with this dissatisfaction or in this comfort zone, and we don't dip below, or we don't experience that intensity to where we make a change in an instant. Now the second way you can raise your standards, it's really the only way that you can take intentional, specific, or even planned action to increasingly raise your standards. And the reason why that is because you raise your standards through conditioning. And there's two main ways that you can condition yourself. One way is through a one-time, incredibly intense experience. Right? This is the first way, where you experience such deep pain or dissatisfaction because you're so below your threshold that you snap, in a sense, and you make an instant change. Right? And you see this a lot with trauma experiences. You have such an intensely scary or negative or painful experience that it changes you. You also see this in positive ways. People that have divine or spiritual experiences or religious experiences, and they're changed forever from that one moment in positive, loving ways. The other way that you can condition yourself is through repetition. So when you experience something over and over and over and over, it basically gets ingrained into your subconscious. It gets beaten into you, and eventually you accept it. And so the second way is to try. It's to try to raise your standards. This is what I have been doing until I finally realized how to do it. And so I was trying. I'm reading the personal development books, doing the courses, going to the seminars. I'm journaling, I'm reflecting, I'm trying to make goals that I'm uncomfortable about and take uncomfortable actions. Right? You're trying to do more, to be more, to achieve more. Right? You're trying. And this works if you are consistent, if you continue to take action. And this is way better than the first step and it's quicker because you're actually taking small steps. You're getting there. You're slowly but surely, you're getting there. You're getting there. You're getting there. Because you're getting clarity. Getting clarity on what you really want, how to make it happen. And you're actually changing yourself, because you're changing your beliefs. You know, as you take that uncomfortable action, as you dream bigger than you thought, and you get a result, and even if you fail, but you continue to try, eventually you start to see small successes, and each small success changes your belief a little bit. This thing that was so uncomfortable or unrealistic, a dream or a goal, starts to actually become possible. And so you're changing your beliefs about what's possible, and that starts to give you room to raise your standards. Because when you change your beliefs, you change your ability to act. And I'm going to talk about this more when I explain the third way. But first, I want to give you an actionable step that you can take to actually work on raising your standards. And what that is before you do anything, reflect on where that action is going to take you in the future. So before you do anything, stop, don't do it, think. If I do this, what will it lead to? How will it make me feel? What will my energy levels be? What will my thoughts be like? What will my emotions be like? What will I achieve? What will be my momentum? Everything that you do is like a snowball effect and a domino effect. It's a snowball effect because it gives you momentum. You know, the snowball effect, you push a snowball down a mountain, and as it's going, it's collecting snow, and it's getting bigger and bigger and heavier and faster, and it's harder to stop. The domino effect is you knock one domino over, another one goes, and it keeps going. There was a book that I read when I was a kid. It was called If You Give a Moose a Muffin. If you give a moose a muffin, he's going to ask you for a napkin to wipe up the crumbs. If you give him a napkin, he's going to ask for a glass of milk to wash the muffin down, and it goes on and on and on. And it's a lesson that one thing leads to another. So you have to be incredibly intentional, aware, and purposeful with what you do. Because everything you do creates a reaction, creates a domino effect. And if you stop and you think, if I take this action or this inaction, where will it lead me? And you think way out into the future. Okay, if I do this, continue to do this for the next 5 years, 10 years, what will that result be? Because the domino effect and the snowball effect, it's huge. It's huge when it goes long term. And often we don't think long term enough. We're caught up in the day-to-day. We're caught up in the moment of how I feel right now. I don't feel like doing that, so I'm not gonna. But then you think, okay, 10 years from now, if I continue to do this thing once a day, think about that impact. And that snowball effect gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So the effort or the thing that you're doing now, it's a different size 3 years from now, 5 years from now. You're doing it on a much bigger level. And you're doing it at that higher level for then another 5 years. And so it's a compound effect. So think, what will this lead to? And think about as much as you can in life. Because the truth is that one thing leads to another. And the way that we work is we are creatures of habit. This is why so many times people, they're on track or they're engaged and they're productive for 2 weeks or 2 months or so. And then they slip a little bit and they have one old behavior that was comfortable and they do that, and what happens is that triggers another old behavior that's comfortable but not helping you to achieve what you want. It's that realm of comfort, which isn't growth. And then that triggers another habit, and that triggers another habit, and then all of a sudden you've fallen off. You see this time and time again. The people, they're good for a little while, and then they fall off. And you fall off because of your habits. And when you stop and you say, where will this action take me? Most likely, you'll realize your patterns that you've had in the past. And you'll start to realize, this is actually something that I do every day. And I've been doing this every day for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And you realize, what if I change this action for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? How would my life be different? What if 10 years ago I stopped doing this thing and I was doing something else or doing this differently? Where would I be now? So when you start to do that, you get something which is incredibly important, and that's pattern recognition. Because that's how we work. We work in patterns. We work with habits. You know, with a habit, there's a trigger, and then your routine. And so, you know, if you have a way of doing something that you're used to, especially if you're used to doing it, stop and ask, how will this get me to where I want to be? Is this in alignment with who I want to be, with where I want to be? And if it's not, do something different. Just taking that action, it's going to help you to get clarity, and it's going to help you to start see your actions and start to see yourself and actually see your standards. You go, okay, so this is where I've been all these years, and this is what I need to change to do more. Okay, so here it is, what we've all been waiting for, the third way and the most powerful way. It's the quickest way, yet it's the most uncomfortable way to raise your standards. And what that is to get around people that are already doing what you're doing, or they have what you want. You know, you've probably heard that a million times, and right now you might be going, what the heck? I've just sat here and listened to all this for that? I knew that. Well, if you know it, are you doing it? And I'm going to explain to you why it works, because that might help. Now, first off, I need to tell you that this is incredibly ironic, because I knew this already too. You know, I heard Tony in his seminar, November 2021, and he says, if you want to raise your standards, you need to change your environment. You need to get around people who are doing what you're doing what you want to be doing, have what you have. You need to surround yourself, immerse yourself with them. And the irony is that I knew that already, and I was actually taught that, but with different words and in a different way. In 2014, I was introduced to Paramhansa Yogananda. Now, he is an enlightened yogi who came from India, and he moved to America in the 1920s. And he's one of the founders of yoga and meditation. He is a huge reason why we know so much of yoga and meditation. He moved here, he lived most of the rest of his life in America and died in America, and gave his life to spreading Eastern philosophy and teachings. And of course, many people have come after him and to spread that mission as well. But what he taught was that environment is stronger than willpower. And in 2015, I went to a community that's based on his teachings. I have spent about a year there total, and so I've spent a lot of time around this teaching. And his philosophy is environment is stronger than willpower. And if you think about it, it really does make sense, because environment is more or less steady. It's just happening. Right? It's just happening, it's there. But willpower, it's something you have to keep generating over and over and over. You know, it's energy. You have to keep regenerating it. And if your environment doesn't support something that you want to do, you have to fight your environment. And so you're fighting over and over. And what happens usually is that eventually you get beaten down. You lose. Now, I won't say that environment is stronger than willpower is 100% true. And I think that Yogananda would back me up, that you never let any excuse get in the way of you accomplishing something, no matter what it is. But for most of us, because it would take an incredible amount of willpower to keep fighting, and you have it in you. But what happens for a lot of us is we get beaten down. In time, we get beaten down. We get conditioned by our environment. And that's really what this is all about, is it's conditioning. You raise your standards through conditioning, or your standards get shaped by your conditioning. Not necessarily raise or lower, they just get shaped by your conditioning. Now, Yogananda taught this from a perspective of magnetism or energy. But we don't even have to go into it that in depth. We can look at it purely from the perspective of influence. How does your environment influence you? The truth is, you are a product of your environment. You are being constantly influenced subconsciously by your environment. In Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about the study of criminals. And what they found is that at the beginning, they weren't comfortable with committing a crime. They didn't like it. And what happened was that as they stick around this environment of crime, there's resistance to it. It's still not embraced. It's not a way of life, but they're still doing it. But what happens if they stay in that environment of crime long enough, eventually they embrace it. And what that means is that their old identity was beaten out of them through conditioning, and they've embraced a new identity of crime, a new way of being. Their morals or their values, their beliefs have been altered through conditioning. So what does this have to do with raising our standards? Well, as you know, our standards are shaped by conditioning. And something interesting that I recently heard Tony Robbins say about standards was that other people's expectations create a radical effect on our subconscious thinking. And I heard that, I was like, that's interesting. But then it's like, okay, what does that mean? So to break it down and make it a little more simple, let's look at humanity from a very primitive perspective. When we have expectations from other people and we fulfill those expectations, it gives us a sense of belonging. We also get a sense of love from that. You know, how many children are out there trying to fulfill the expectations of their parents so that they can feel loved? And when you look at it from the sense of survival, we survive in community. We survive in tribes. And so when you have a sense of belonging that you fit in, there's a sense of safety, a sense of certainty that you're going to be in a tribe and to have a community. You know, you versus a mountain lion, my money's on the mountain lion. Though I don't know you, I don't know what you're capable of. But you and 10 other people with spears versus a mountain lion, most likely that mountain lion just runs. So we survive in community, and that's how our brains are built. So other people's expectations of us, they do have a radical effect on our subconscious thinking. We're searching for approval, we're searching for belonging because we get safety, we get love from it. So how does that apply to raising your standards? Well, when you get around other people, they have higher expectations of what they demand on themselves. And they also expect that from their peer group as well. So when you get around people that have higher expectations than you do, you get into an environment that can condition you to have higher expectations. Now, as I said, this is the easiest way, because all you have to do is just get around people that have higher expectations than you. And in time, you'll be conditioned to have higher expectations or higher demand on yourself, and your standards will be raised and you will accomplish more in whatever area of your life that you're looking to accomplish more in. However, I did say it's the most uncomfortable. And that's because your beliefs and your identity is being challenged. Right? Our expectations on ourselves, they are a reflection of our beliefs about ourselves, about the world, who we are, what we're capable of. And when we are around people that have a wider range of belief, they believe more is possible. They believe that you're capable of more. They have a bigger range of comfort zone than you. It's uncomfortable to be in. And often what happens is when you're in that environment, your limiting beliefs start to surface. You actually get aware of them. So now you start actively thinking, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I can't do this. And it's because they're being challenged. Your beliefs, your morals, your values, your identity, it's being challenged. Just like those criminals who at first, they didn't like it. You know, their morals were being challenged. And there was resistance. And there's going to be resistance for you too. because your identity, your beliefs, your reality, it's being challenged. And you're going to want to get out because it doesn't feel comfortable. But if you can stay, if you can endure that discomfort and be in the resistance, eventually you get conditioned. Eventually your old identity, your old beliefs, they get beaten down, or in a different way to look at it, they get expanded. And now, you've been around people, you've been around them, they're doing more than you, they've done more than you, and you start to see, holy crap, they're accomplishing this stuff. Wow. And you, just from witnessing it, you start to change your beliefs. Wow, maybe that is really possible. And they have a different demand on what they expect from you. So now you have also this pressure. Okay, I got to fulfill these expectations, right? And so when you're around that long enough, it's uncomfortable, but eventually you rise to meet those expectations, those standards. Now you have a new comfort zone. And guess what? Yes, if you want to go to another level, you have to do that again. And so if you want to keep growing, it's always through discomfort. The discomfort's always going to be there because it's challenging your identity. It's challenging your beliefs. And as we know that personality's biggest need, most significant need, is to be consistent with your identity. To be consistent with what's real, what's possible, what's capable. And that all stems from your beliefs. Because if you don't believe something's possible, it's impossible, it's unreal. And so it shapes your reality. And when you're around those people that are in a different reality than you, your reality gets shaped, you get conditioned. So okay, so what are we going to do about this? So now you know what to do. You do. You know what to do. So what are we going to do about it? Well, I'm going to give you a little exercise that you can do right now, and it's pretty easy, and it's going to help give you some clarity, and then you got to take some action. Because look, your life's not going to change if you don't do anything about it. You can watch all the videos, you can read all the books, you can go to all the courses or the seminars, but if you don't change your actions, nothing will change. And so take some action, do something about it. And here is what you can do. Make a list. Here's what you can do. So get a piece of paper, grab your favorite pen. You can do this on the computer too if you want. And I want you to write down the most important areas of your life. What's really important to you? Your relationships, your passions, hobby, career, finance, health, spirituality. What's important to you? And now go and describe those areas of their life. What are they like? What do you do? How do you feel? And do that on one side. So this is the list. Now on the other side of the paper, describe how you want them to be. Describe what do you want to do? How do you want to feel? What do you want it to look like? What's it like on a day-to-day basis? And what this does is it gives you clarity on the gap so that you can actually be intentional on where you want to go. Because you're not going to raise your standards if you don't actually have an idea that you want more. To raise your standards, you do have to raise your ambition. And so you have to know, okay, what do I want this to look like? Where do I want this headed? And so that way you can take intentional action to get there. Because you can know you can want more, but if you don't know exactly what you want or how you want it to be, you don't really know what to do. So create this list and get clarity on that gap. And now you know the 3 ways, and you have a choice. So what are you going to do? Are you going to do nothing? Are you going to try? Are you going to take action? Or are you going to get around people who are going to try and take action and little by little work on it, work on yourself, try to do more. And you should always be doing that one, just a little heads up. Or are you going to do the third one, the quickest, most uncomfortable, but actually easiest way? And are you going to get around people who've already done it, who already have it? Get around people who are role models. They can model the way, and they can shape and condition you to. And they can shape and condition you to do more, to be more, to have more, to look at life differently, to change your beliefs. Because when you change your beliefs, God, You change the possibilities. And when you change what's possible, you change what you're able to do. And that gives you room to do things differently. And that's what creates change in your life. So just to summarize this, I want to have you understand something. Our expectations, they create emotion. Isn't that true though? Haven't you ever had positive expectations for how something's going to go, whether it's a movie or a vacation or even a phone call or business meeting, whatever. And you're excited about it, you're looking forward to it. But when you have low expectations or negative expectations, how do you feel? You don't feel that good, don't feel that excited, don't even want to do it. It's not worth it. So our expectations drive our emotional state, and our emotions drive our actions. So when you can change and shift your expectations, you change your emotions, and the emotions, that's what really gets you to take action. That's what gives you motive to do something. So when you change your expectations, ultimately you're going to change what you do. So okay, I hope that you really understand why it's so important to get around people that have higher expectations than you so that you can raise your standards and change the quality of your life. Now, until the next time I see you, go out there and give life your best self. And to live a fulfilling life, give, grow, and be grateful. Okay, see you next time. Hey, it's Doc Christian. Thank you for watching this video. And if you would do me a favor, please hit the like button below and subscribe to my channel. Also, feel free to leave a comment so we can connect with each other and post any questions you have, because these questions will help me to make better videos that are more personalized for you, because after all, these videos are for you. And lastly, please share this video with anyone you think that might enjoy it or gain some benefit from it or get something out of it. You can always be the catalyst for change in someone's life, and you never know what the tipping point for the change will be. So never limit your ability to share. And thank you again for watching this video.